What is up, guys? Nick here from Creative Images. Today I'm going to show you guys how I do model batch edits. And what that means is just how I start and how I finish all these model shoots that I do. One thing I want to say is my editing between models, nature, cityscapes has changed very drastically from when I started to when I finished. I've learned new things. I've learned faster ways to edit, and that's what it comes down to. So what I really recommend is watch my channel. I have a ton of videos on how to do model editing, such as skin retouching. This video is going to be really fast, just how I go through it. I'm not going to make a perfect edit just because, my edits take a long time. I like to sit down and make sure everything is right, make sure there's no blemishes, make sure everything is crisp and clean. So this is just going to be batch edits. These 3 photos that I found are really old. They go back to 2012, and one is pretty recent. So I don't want to use any raw photos that I'm currently working on or I haven't finished the projects to. So these 3 are the ones that I chose. And yeah, so let's get into the edit, and I'll show you guys how I batch edit these. Alright, so here are the 3 photos that I've chosen. This is like a throwback to when my photography name was Akira Studios. Yeah, I told you, it's like 2012-ish. So here's the second picture, and the third one right here, which this one's pretty recent. This is from a couple months ago, but I'm going to show you guys how to do a guy, just so you guys see both. Nothing really changes. But yeah, so we'll pick one of these. I don't know. We'll start with this one. It's very bland. I didn't know flash photography back then, so as you can see, she's very poorly lit. You can see on the right side of her face that she has shadows on one side and highlights on the other. That's because the sun was coming from her left or right. So let's just jump right in and let's edit this. So opening up the photo in Lightroom, we can start off really quick. If you guys have my Visco filters, I always start with this one for some reason lately. I do have my own custom presets, which I'm currently perfecting, and I'm going to put those out for you guys for free. But here, putting one filter on it, it's a lot of grain on it, which we want to get rid of. Get rid of the grain. And yeah, so just quick with that is this is a before, and here's the after. It makes the greens pop a little bit more, and it kind of makes her a little more contrasty, which I like. Kind of like the cool color to this, so we're going to keep it cool. Probably about like a -3. And yeah, I like the way that the highlights are killed, because that way it kind of muddles her face a little. And then I want to crush the shadows a little bit more. Bring up the whites a little, and I like where the blacks are. So I constantly hit the backspace key. That shows the before in Lightroom. So if you guys are editing in Lightroom, you just hit the / key, and it shows you the before edit and the after. Obviously, keep switching back and forth. So now, moving down to presence, you have your clarity, you have your vibrance, and you have your saturation. I explained what these are in previous videos. So what I want to do is, I don't want her being too... You don't want the skin being too revealing, so I kind of usually bring this to about -5. And then the vibrance and saturation depends on the image. So if my image is very sunny, and I got like a sun flare in the corner, and so on and so forth, I like to bump the vibrance up very high. But if it's kind of dark and I got a lot of greens and blues from the oceans, I like to bring the vibrance up to about 9 or 10, somewhere around that area. And I bring the saturation down just a little bit to like -5 to kind of balance it out, just to give me a little more pop, but not too much that it looks fake. So everything you do in editing, you want to look real. I don't think photoshopping things in your picture is fake as long as it looks real. So obviously in this picture you wouldn't have a shark or a whale behind her, because that just doesn't make any sense. So you want to keep the image as real looking as possible. So now moving down to your tone curve, you could edit with these sliders this way here, or you could click this image in the bottom, this little icon, and it brings it this way, and you can manually adjust the points on your tone curve, which I like, and I think it has more control to it. Which the Visco plugin filter I really like. Sometimes I don't like the whites on it, so I'll come in here and I'll manually adjust the whites. So I like how that looks the way it is. Like I said, go back, to your before and go back to your after. I just got over being sick, so I do apologize. Let's move down to our HSL box, hue, saturation, luminance. And obviously I don't want to put this black and white. It kind of takes away from the whole image. So we're going to go to the HSL tab over here, and we're going to start with hue. There's not really much red in the image besides your skin tone, so I'm going to keep it back to where it was at +8. And this is all going to vary on what your image is and how your white balance is shot. Usually I just go right away to crushing my greens. I like more of that yellow look, but it depends on what you're going for, because bringing your greens up too high looks really fake, because no one's grass looks like this, as you guys see right here. It's just impossible. So I like crushing it. I like more of the yellow grass. And yeah, you can mess with your yellows to kind of aid in your greens. So now we have the aqua, which is the water. So you guys can see here. And it's part of the grass too. We're not going to play with that. We're going to keep that neutral. And the blues is her skirt and the water. So what I like to do is I do like a little more turquoise in the water. It's that Sam Colder look. I talk about it all the time. And yeah, so purple is still in the skirt and in the water. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit because I do like the look. Kind of gives it that faded look. And there's no magenta in our image. So moving on to saturation. Like I said before, you don't want too much, you don't want too little, so you're going to play with each of your images. So kind of like that. Excuse me. And the blue, I want to keep that way. Alright, I'm not really going to touch with luminance because I like the way this is looking, but if you need to adjust the brightness of your color tones, go into luminance right now and adjust how bright and how dark you want each of your certain colors. So if you want to bring your blues up, you're going to raise the blue slider up and it's going to make it brighter. If you want it darker, you bring it down to the left. I'm going to move on to our split toning. This all varies in the image as well, and your personal preference. So I have presets saved of certain colors already. I have a very, very dark blue. It looks kind of grayish. It's that low on the scale. And then I have a light orange, which looks tan. And I'll toggle it on and off. And I'm not too crazy about it because it puts a little too much orange in the shadows. So what I'll do at this point is I'll switch them. I'll come here and I'll put orange as my highlights, and my shadows I'll make that very dark blue. And you see that looks so much better. That's usually my go-to. I usually try that first, and if that doesn't work, I switch it. And if you have too much orange in your picture, you can adjust the balance slider. So to the right would be more orange in your highlights, to the left is your shadows. I like the way it looks naturally, so I'm going to keep it at 0. We're going to set that to 0. And I really like the way that came out. So moving on to detailing, I always put a little bit of sharpening in, not too much, because this the Visco plugin kind of makes it very grainy if you look at it. Noise reduction, we're going to bump up, not that much, and yeah. So that is how I do women, and it's the same for men. So coming here, we have this picture of Mike. The sky is blown out because I exposed for him. It was a very sunny day. No clouds at all, so like I said, you can come here, and I'm going to come right to my Portrait 160 and push and pull, and you see there, kind of makes them a little more contrasty. The blues stand out a little more. I'm going to take the highlights down just because I like the washed out look. It kind of has that Abercrombie look, like Abercrombie & Fitch, like Aeropostale, all those clothing lines kind of has that look, which I really like. I like how he's exposed, so I'm not really going to touch the shadows there. I like this. In this image, like how I said previously, it depends on your image. I'm going to bring the vibrance and the saturation down a tiny bit. I'm not going to boost anything because I like how it's washed out. So you can see the colors in his shirts are faded and his blue jeans look faded. Even though they're toned with a little bit of a blue, it looks really awesome. It's pretty much all preference at this point. So coming in here, I honestly wouldn't change anything about this with the preset. It looks really, really awesome. What I would do is I'm going to take my brush up here. I'm going to change it to exposure. I don't like how this post is really, really overexposed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over this post. You hit O and it shows what you're painting. So if you get out and you get outside of the post, you hold Alt, make your brush smaller, and you could paint negative. So it'll take away from what you painted over. This, you don't really have to get as close because we're not doing that drastic of a change to the post. So get as much as you can. You click O again to hide it, and then you can adjust your post. So like I said, I don't want too much of the post changing. Maybe I'll take the highlights out of it, and that looks a little better, and I'll put a little bit of clarity on it so it looks real. And there you go. So quick before and after, kind of looks a lot better to the image. And we'll come down to split toning really fast. Like I said, it's all preference. So there's times where I like a little bit of a purple, not that much obviously, but in the shadows you come really low on the scale and you do a very, very light pinkish purple, and then you could come here and you could do like an orange. Let me come down a little bit with it though, or like a yellow, very, very subtle. And then here, like I said, you adjust it and you have a little bit of pinks in your highlights. So you could see in his face here, very grainy because of that filter, but you see it's a little bit of pinkish there. So toggling it off and then on, it kind of gives a little bit more of a warmer feel to it. The only thing I hate about this plugin is it always puts grain in images, and yes, it does look great on some images, but some images like portraits, you don't want grain unless you're aiming for that vintage kind of look. So just keep that in mind, that if you are putting grain in your image, if that's what you want, go ahead, more power to you. But if it's trying to be clean, crisp, smooth skin that you want, stay far, far away from the grain unless you're doing it afterward and you're doing it in post. So now this image, the previous image that I posted, this one that we edited, I can't edit because it is a JPEG. It's really old, but I wanted to retouch it because I wasn't happy with how this looked. But this one is shot in RAW, I believe, so it'll let me zoom in, and I can edit Mike's face. So what I'll do is, in a previous video I showed you guys how to do skin softening. I made my own skin softening brush. So what it is, it's negative clarity and it's negative sharpness. That's the only two things you need to adjust in your sliders when you're playing with a brush, and it's all for feel. You obviously don't want the skin being baby smooth because that's not how skin looks. You want it to be real but fake. So as we age, obviously we're stressed. There's lots of things to stress about, kids, families, and you're going to break out. Obviously you're going to have blemishes, things that people don't want in images. So I have my skin softening brush. I hit O to see where I'm painting, and you're going to paint over the skin how I showed you guys. You want to stay away from eyebrows, lips, and eyes. And if a girl has really long eyelashes, you could stay away from those as well. Just because this smooths everything out, and you want like lashes to pop, you want eyebrows to pop, because it is a person. It's who they are. You know, they have distinguishing features that need to be shown. This I don't go overboard with. This is my preset. I always adjust it to each person. So Mike here has a little goatee going, so I'm not going to go over the goatee. And just so the neck doesn't look weird, I'm going to blend that as well. So now, after I'm done painting, I'm going to hit O. And that looks a little too soft for me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the clarity up. It was at negative 44. I'm going to bring it up to probably 35, and the sharpness to probably about 20. And that looks really real. I like that a lot. So before, you see there, and then after. It's very smooth, and it looks awesome. Now while I'm here zoomed in on the face, what I'm going to do is the whites of the eyes, I'm going to bring up. Mike's hair is in one of them, but I'll bring it up anyway. So we're going to paint with the exposure. It's set to negative right now, but we'll bring it up. So obviously with the eyes, no one's eyes look this bright. I'm at plus 57 right now. Try to keep it around like 17, 15, somewhere around there so it looks real, but it pops the eyes. And there you go. And the eyes look really awesome. And here's the before, and here's the after, before and after. Now, in your images, sometimes I do like putting a little bit of a highlight, a post-crop vignette, and you could do that in your image. This image wouldn't really, it doesn't really look too nice when you put a little bit, just because I like how clean and crisp it is and how overexposed and blown out the background is. So it's all personal preference, and it's all how you edit. So learn different techniques. Obviously, I'd come in here and I'd skin soften his hand, But Mike doesn't really have any blemishes on his face. He doesn't have anything, actually. Let me see if I can find anything that I can remove. There's nothing really here to remove. Okay, here you go. There's this little stitch in here. Every jean usually has it. It's like a weird orange stitch. If you want to remove it, all you got to do is you're going to come to your spot removal tool. That's not it. Yes, it is. This is it right here. And you want it to be the size of the object. I always say this. You don't want it to be too big. All you're going to do is click. It's going to sample from a nearby location. And it's usually perfect about 90% of the times. Otherwise, it's not. If it's not, you click on the circle next to where it is, and you could come and you could drag it anywhere that you think looks suitable. It was perfect, so I'm not going to do that. We're going to hit OK, and there you go. There's my picture of Mike, before and after, before and after. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I just want to bring up, I bought the new Sony a6300, or a6300, whatever you want to call it. So I have a couple parts coming for it. I have the lens adapter coming so I could use all my Canon lenses. I have a new grip, battery grip, so it's bigger. This is so tiny, it's so weird. But I love it so far. I've taken a couple pictures with it. And yeah, I just wanted to make a note because I'm going to do a full review on that once I have everything ready to go. It's not fair to do a review on it with just a kit lens, which isn't that great. It is good for what it is coming out of the box, but there's better lenses and better glass, obviously. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys learn different techniques. Always learn, learn, learn. Keep learning different things. Learn how to edit eyes, learn how to edit skin, learn how to edit hair, learn how to fix hair if it's a mess, if it's windy, how to remove hair. I'm going to be doing a ton of these tutorials. So far I have how to edit skin, a whole video dedicated on how to fix blemishes, how to smooth skin, and how to remove objects that aren't there. So if you have like hair flowing in the wind and you don't want it there, I'll show you guys how to remove that. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.